So up to this point, we've primarily been talking about all the income items, right? Lines 1 all the way through 8. And every time we increase our income, what's happening is it's increasing our AGI, which phases out our credits, maybe pushes us out of certain deductions, and it's going to increase our taxable income. Well, you know what? We finally get to change that because what we're looking at now is our first set of deductions. We're going to be using the adjustments from line number 10. So for each of these adjustments, what we are doing is we're going to be decreasing our AGI. When we decrease our adjusted gross income, we are now making it to where we may be phasing into certain credits to reduce our taxes and certain deductions. So this is a great part for the taxpayer. It's going to reduce our taxable income, which is going to reduce the taxes that we have overall. So let's go ahead and let's look to see exactly where we are on this return so we can start to figure out, hey, what are our adjustments and how can we use these? So what we're looking at here is going to be our 1040. And you can see in the red box it goes from lines 1 all the way down through line number 9. Those were items that were increasing our adjusted gross income and our taxable income. Right? So once it increased that adjusted gross income, our AGI, then what was happening is it was reducing credits that we may be able to get because we may phase out of the credits. Also, as we go ahead and we increase our AGI, it may be increasing how much we're going to have to pay in terms of taxes on our Social Security because AGI is going to be used as a component of our provisional income, which is used to determine what is going to be taxable. So we have that portion of it as well. Now, what we finally get to do is we finally get to start looking at some deductions. Now, line number 10, that's where we're going to be using these adjustments. Now, these adjustments are going to be the deductions that we get to calculate that impact our adjusted gross income. This is the only form of deductions that will decrease our AGI. Everything else is increasing AGI, or if it is a deduction, it's decreasing taxable income, but it will not impact our AGI. So if we're trying to reduce our provisional income in terms of what we're going to be taxed on for, say, Social Security, or maybe we don't want to phase out, which we wouldn't want to phase out, of certain credits, right? They have phase out limits. Well, this is what we have to do. We have to be able to reduce our AGI because a lot of those are based on AGI, or at least AGI is a component of it. So this is where we reduce our AGI. So there's only two ways we're going to reduce AGI. We're either going to reduce our income, or we're going to be ending up reducing or increasing our adjustments to reduce our AGI. So that's it, right? That's what we're dealing with. Now you'll see on line number 10 here, what we are actually doing is we're taking our Schedule 1, right? We're taking the amount from Schedule 1, and Schedule 1 now comes over to line number 10 on our 1040. So when you're watching this video, you need to look at the previous video that I recorded and to look at the Schedule 1 so you can see, okay, what exactly is appearing on Schedule 1? How do we calculate that? And that's going to tell you what amount goes to line 10. So we can't do line 10 until we've already done Schedule 1. Our next video, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the adjusted gross income so we can understand, all right, how do we deal with adjusted gross income? What does it impact? And all of the unique things that occur with AGI. But what we'll do next on this video is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you the general categories that you're looking at for Schedule 1. I'm not going to go through all the different adjustments. That is the Schedule 1 video. This is going to be just a general category of those that would appear on Schedule 1 and thus impact our line number 10 on our 1040. So let's go ahead and look at those general categories. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start talking about the Schedule 1 adjustments, right? They're coming over from Schedule 1 onto our line 10 of the 1040. But before we do, I do want to highlight a couple other things. So as I mentioned just a second ago, when we're looking at the adjustments here, these are the only ones that impact our AGI. So what that means is, listen, everybody gets these, right? Everybody who qualifies for these gets these. You don't have to make the decision between a standard deduction and taking these. All your other deductions, other than these adjustments, those are going to be considered after AGI. That's where you may have to make a determination. You see, you have itemized deductions. Well, you have to determine whether you want to take itemized deductions or the standard deduction. That's where that decision lies. Right now, before we get to AGI, you don't have to make that decision. You could take all of these plus the standard deduction, or you can take all of these and the itemized deduction. It doesn't matter. It's whatever you qualify for these adjustments. So that's the first thing to note. The second thing to note is as you're going through those other types of deductions and credits, those are all reducing just our taxable income, not the AGI, right? So your itemized deductions, your standard deduction, your Schedule 1A, which is a new Schedule 1A, that's going to go ahead and it's also going to reduce your taxable income, but it is not going to reduce AGI. Credits as well will reduce the amount of taxes you owe, but it does not impact our AGI. Our AGI might impact the credits, but our credits do not impact the AGI. All right. Now, with that said, let's look at these basic categories that we're dealing with. Now, like I said before, on your Schedule 1 video, I've gone ahead and I've already identified all these and I've gone into more detail on it. So this is just a broad overview so you know what type of things are going on line 10, but you're going to want to watch line 10 video and the Schedule 1 kind of together so you have this whole concept down. So here's our first category. We're looking at education. So education is going to be things like student loan interest or K through 12 expenses for educator expenses, right? So you have teachers that are paying for things to for their classroom. Then you have health. So your HSA deductions, that's going to be an adjustment that reduces our AGI. And our self-employment health insurance is going to also do that. Then we have self-employed. So when we're looking at self-employed tax deductions and retirement plans. You know, this one does a pretty good job of helping us identify why we even have these above the line deductions, right? These adjustments that reduce our AGI. Because what they are doing is first off, they're looking at equity. So a self-employed individual who's going to have to pay both sections of their self-employment taxes and FICA and all that stuff. Well, now they're going to be put on equal footing with a person who is a W-2 employee because they're going to be able to deduct half of some of these costs. The other portion of it is the retirement portion, right? So these are used to incentivize a certain behavior, such as saving for retirement or savings for medical expenses. So it incentivizes things as well. So that's the purpose for having these adjustments that are above the line or prior to AGI. All right, some other ones are going to be just another category, financial penalties. So if you had early withdrawal penalties, that would apply. Family law. A lot of this is already phased out. Those were if you had a divorce that was settled previously and you were responsible for alimony, then you used to be able to go ahead and take that as an adjustment, but that no longer applies. The previous decisions, though, the previous agreements that were approved when it was above the line addition, they're grandfathered in, so you still get that. And then there's some special cases like military moving. So generally we don't get to deduct moving expenses any longer. But military does have a limited exception where they may be able to deduct the moving expenses. All right, so we take these, and like I said, they go on to 1040, line number 10. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what your next step should be as you continue to get the information to complete your taxes. All right, so these are the next steps that you should be following. So first, if you have not already watched the Schedule 1 video, go through and watch that because I go into a lot of detail on the Schedule 1. And since Schedule 1 is appearing over on our line number 10, it's important to understand exactly what type of deductions we're getting and then go on to line number 10. So you need to be making sure that you watch the Schedule 1 video. After that, what I would suggest is go to the line number 11 video. It's going to be our adjusted gross income, and that's going to show you how we took the adjustments and lowered our AGI and why it mattered so much. And then what I would suggest is going through the full 1040 walkthrough, because now what you've done is you've gone up to AGI, and that's such an important milestone as you're doing your taxes. Okay, AGI is such an important part of it. So after we get through AGI, it's a great time to stop, look at the 1040, make sure you're seeing where everything's coming, making sure that it's flowing, that as you do your taxes, you're able to do that portion of it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to be jumping into things such as the standard deduction, itemized deductions, and working our way through the different types of credits. So that way you can get your taxable income. We'll see how we're going to actually calculate taxable income. And hopefully you'll be ready to go on tax season as you're working through your taxes. All right. Well, thank you for watching this video. If these videos are helping, please remember to subscribe to this channel.